welcome back. I think it's been, it was the second Wednesday last month when we spoke about labels and removing labels. So just want to check how many people are new to this who didn't attend the last one. If you can just put that in the chat box, I would know. Okay, Ankit. Kriti, can you hear me? Oh, wow. So there are a lot of first timers. So Ankit, Anchal, Jyotsna, and Ila. Jayashree also. Wow. Greshma also. Ekta, does it? I don't know. How do we do this? Do we quickly do a recap for it? What do you suggest?
Yeah, sure. So we also shared a short presentation before you joined in.
Okay.
And that sort of gave a sort of, just a background on what we've been talking about. But I think it would be great actually for new people, just to get a little background. Sure.
Wow. Just give me a second because that's...
Sure.
Okay, let me take...
Do let me know if I can help you in any way. I can always...
No, that's fine. I was just thinking, how can I do that in the next 10 minutes, what we did in an hour and a half. Okay, so let me quickly do a recap versus doing a slideshow for this. So what we had covered, and it will be a recap for other people quickly, is that while we were growing up, okay, and you can yourself, what kind of person I am, what kind of person I'm not. And we've used a lot of versions of that these could be traits, this could be my personality. So if you really see, that's not exactly how each one of us was born. We acquired these traits, we acquired these personalities as we grew up. And what we saw also was that while we have different words to describe ourselves, our personality, and it could be our parents, could be could be friends, or could be anybody around. It could be a version of your personality.
Sorry, Sushant, sorry to interrupt you. Your video seems to be breaking for a few people. Now it's slightly better, but I think it just breaks in between. Yeah.
Will that not work? Because even if it's, they're just seeing my face.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yeah, if it happens again, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Sure, great. Yeah. So where I was that we all have words for ourselves, the words we use to describe ourselves, and we have certain words for everybody in our life, and everybody in our life has different words for us. And if you really examine them closely, you will see that those words are not the same. Some person in your life may call you Ziddi, or somebody who's adamant, and somebody may call you passionate, somebody may call you highly considerate, and somebody may call you inconsiderate. Somebody would be there in your life who would call you lazy, and somebody would say he's got a lot of energy. So when you look around, there'll be different people calling you different with different traits and different personalities, because that's the way we have been with them. And it's been our experience with those people, it's been our the way we behave with those people is what builds their perspectives, their views about all of us. Now, having said that, if you examine that very closely, we see that we behave differently in different situations. These are all labels given by us, our parents, our teachers, our friends, about us, looking at our behavior with them, our responses with them. So what we had questioned at that point of time, in that session last time is that if these are all labels, if these are different perspectives of different people looking at us differently, then who are we in reality? If being considerate, being caring, being hardworking, being short-tempered are all views and perspectives, which could be ours, which could be our parents, which could be anybody around in our life, then who are these perspectives, these labels are all about? And what we identified in that session was that if you really look at, and let me recreate that for you, if you look at any 2.5, 3-year-old child, any, this could be a person in your family, could be your own child, could be a child on the road, could be children in your schools, could be children of your relatives, could be anybody. But if you really bring up, there are these mostly happy. 70, 80, 90% of the time they're happy with whatever they have, playing around, having fun. The times when they're not all that, so they're happy, they're self-expressed, their confidence level is very, very high. They would be the first person to get onto the car and say, I'll drive. Fourth, they ask tons and tons of questions. They're very inquisitive. They're exploring all the time. They want to get into every nook and corner, open every drawer, pick up every stuff, see how it feels, rides, tastes. They will try and break stuff to see how it works. Then they never give up easily. If they get after something, they are very, very adamant. People say they're adamant. How we look at them is that they don't give up easily. If they want something, they would get it, whether it's from their parents or grandparents or whoever, and they will not leave it till the time they get it. If you notice, these children at this age, particularly at this age, start addressing themselves as their name. Now, the child can be anywhere in the world. We've done this work with people across the world and even people in different cultures. Their children at the age 2.5, 3 call themselves by the name. The erstwhile child development experts used to call it egocentric behavior. In our model, which Ekta was talking about, that we have a Parwarish child development model, which has been our research with parents, teachers, and children specifically of the last 18 years. In that model, we say that children are born with full self-esteem. Now, if I just link, and there's no stress in their life, these kids, 2.5-3-year-old, have a stress-free life, they have a fearless life, unless somebody has actually forced fear on them. So if you really see these list of these things, happy, self-expressed, self-confident, inquisitive, exploring, never giving up, humane, high on self-esteem, stress-free and fearless. If you look at these 10 qualities, you will see that each one of those children have that quality, and that's exactly how you were born. And any human being who has these qualities, if I ask you this question, if you have all these qualities, what would be possible for you? Happy, self-expressed, self-confident, high on self-esteem, inquisitive, exploring, not giving up, no stress, no fear, humane. Like anything and everything is possible. So you notice that if we observe any 2.5, 3-year-old child with these qualities and we look at them and we say that they are capable of everything, and in our model we call them no limit. This is exactly how each one of you were born. This is exactly how each one of the children you work with were born. Born no limit. And everything on top of it, each and every word which you said to yourself, the trait you identify yourself, your personality, is actually a label given by people around you and yourself based on your actions. And what we had done that day was that we need to de-link yourself from your actions. So you can be short-tempered at times and you can be patient at times. You can be hardworking at times and you can be lazy at times. But that's you who's being like that, not you are like that. So that entire session was about how you can practice delinking yourself, which is somebody who's born no limits, somebody who's born with all the power in the world, and having these traits, these behaviors, and how can we delink them and have the possibility of every behavior, every ability, every trait being present for you. And what I'd requested was for the people who were there in the session last time to try it out for yourself. We done a quick exercise to take off our labels within that session. So I want to just ask for a couple of minutes before we get into the second part of the session. Is how many of you could try it for yourself? How many of you tried it with the children you're working with? Did you speak to the children and get these labels off? Was there any difference? How did you feel if you worked on yourself after the session? Could you actually do something or experience yourself to break your own barriers, which earlier were there because of the labels you put on yourself? So just want to check with a few people. Have you done this work? Anybody who could do this for yourself? Saw something? Any kind of a feeling? So you can type it out. If you want to speak it out, just unmute yourself. And my request would be, if there are too many people unmuting together, I would moderate that. So if there is anybody who wants to share, and even if you tried and you couldn't, and you want to share about that, it's perfectly fine. Anybody?
So I think Meghna seems.
Yeah, Meghna, you shared the No Limit with your team, right? So what was the experience? How did you do it? What was the response of the team? And by team, you meant your fellow teachers, right?
So by team, I meant our team, our staff team, and ideas seemed very powerful to them. I think it was a very a quick change in perspective, and that whole idea of how we immediately label and enter the sphere of judgment. So that was great. Since I'm on speaker, I'd also like to share, we discussed this as parents as well.
Wow.
So I have a 13 and a 10-year-old. So it brought in immense amount of food for thought for us as parents.
Any shift that happened with your children, or how did they feel?
Well, I think it's more about a shift for us as parents, more than for them, isn't it? So I think it's a space they would be delighted to be in.
Were they delighted?
Well, so my 13-year-old is very interesting. So he says, finally you get it, right?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks. Thank you.
Great. Actually, they know it. We don't.
You're right.
Yeah. Great. And Kirti, you've been talking about a group of students, right? So how was their reaction? These were a group of students you're teaching? Okay. Beyond enjoyment, could you feel any, it's okay if I just ask you specifically, any level of connect between you and them? Any shift in their communications with you? Any shift in their behavior? I know it's too early to make a judgment on the behavior just on the basis of labels, but we've had cases where it's just been magical.
So we did an activity with a group of students, and we need to make a follow up with it with them. But soon after the activity, they were like mingling with the kids. The kids, they were they have like secluded in the classroom. They've met them, they apologized to them, they said like, sorry, I made you out as an outsider from my group. So that was one thing. But yeah, we will be following up in a next group activity with our kids.
Great, yeah. Thanks, Kirti, for taking it to them, man. It's really
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Suhani, you said you tried on yourself. I was continuously observing myself and the self-talk and tried to remove those labels. It helped me a lot, especially in terms of confidence, and it felt quite liberating. So, Suhani, could you do something, or how did it impact you? Like, was this palpable, or this was more on a self-reflection and awareness level?
I think it was more on awareness level.
Okay.
I was I think the activity really helped me analyze that what are the labels that I'm giving to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to different people, and then they were like, "Oh, but we don't think so. Like, we are just telling it to yourself." So I think it helped me a lot, just in terms of my own image that I carry and which sometimes stops me.
Great, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
As the rest of the people, I would really urge you guys. This is something we need to really tell children all around, and we'll do more work today, and really see how these labels start coming in, how it starts impacting our performance, and see how we can actually get children to up their performance just by focusing on this, and how we can do that in the classrooms. So great, yeah. Thanks for people who've done it. It'll be great to hear from you. I think I shared my email ID earlier in the session, but here it goes again. Let me just type it. It'll be great to hear from you guys. And I think Ekta and everybody else would I got a few mails from you guys, a few people. I would suggest if you need any kind of a support, want to share, please feel free to do it. The more we share about it, the more we perpetuate it, the more we talk about it, the more it gets into the world. And that's exactly what our movement has been, to let everybody know that this is who you are and you're capable of everything. So great. Let me move forward. Is there anybody who wants to share something right in the middle, right now, or we move into the next session? Okay, so here it goes. So we're talking about where we all started was this entire 2-session program was for nurturing self-esteem. So my question to you, and this is a question, okay, and you can still open it up for people to answer it. What is your understanding of self-esteem? If somebody wants to reply, feel free. What do you understand by self-esteem? The word self-esteem. Anybody? Yeah, Vidyut. Oh, you're gone. Self-respect, okay. Confidence in myself, belief in yourself, okay. How I evaluate yourself, belief in your own abilities, self-respect and confidence in your abilities. Okay, great. So here it goes, setting benchmarks of self-worth, the strength within. Okay. So so self-esteem in put in easier words, I think you all got it right. The way we say it and the way we want to justify it is, what do you say to yourself about yourself? Which is very different from how you portray yourself to be, how you let other people know you, which is also very different from what others say about you. So let me say this again. So self-esteem is something which you say to yourself about yourself. Something which is yours, there's nothing to hide, and you are saying to yourself about yourself, which is very distinct from what others say to you about you and how you portray yourself with others. That is exactly what self-esteem is. And if you really look at it, what is the role of self-esteem? Like, what do we think self-esteem does? So let's look at self-esteem. If I put it in a single liner, it gives you your self-worth, what you say to yourself about yourself, and the strength to do something, to get into something with belief, with your own self-belief. So if you really look at it, how we normally see children around and ourselves around, and I'll move into that, why are we talking about self-esteem so much? People normally talk about performance, self-confidence, and we are right now today talking about the importance of self-esteem. It's like whenever we see a performance, for example, of a person going down, of any child, even yourself, we are always bothered that if the performance goes down, the self-confidence of that person for that particular activity will go down. And if you really look at your own classrooms, for example, if you see somebody performing less in, say this performance level in for mathematics is less, you will observe that the confidence level of that child has gone down. And we are always worried that once the self-confidence is that level of that child will go down, it will start impacting the self-esteem of any child. That's how we've always believed. Okay, if you really look at yourself, how we grew up, how we are working with the children in our schools, or if you are parents working with your own children, we are somehow trying to make sure that the performance doesn't go down, and we focus on their performance. Send them to tuitions, give them some coaching, put in your own effort. If a child is not performing well, we will start supporting that child. We take leaves for children in their examinations or their competitions, so that support is provided, so that their performance doesn't go down. Because ultimately, the performance is going to impact the confidence, and that confidence will impact his or her self-esteem. But one thing, let me unravel for you today, which right now, as I say it, may sound counterintuitive, which I had shared earlier in the first session also, that most of our work is counterintuitive. Parwarish believes in breaking myths, and one of the myths is that performance, self-confidence, and self-esteem are related in this manner. Actually, what happens is this. If I say, for example, I'm not good enough, what will happen to my confidence? Obviously, the confidence will go down, and I won't say I can't do it. And if I get into any work by saying I can't do it, what do you think will happen to the performance? It will be impacted negatively. So, friends, we normally see that the performance, and how we have believed all our lives, is that performance leads to lower self-confidence, leads to lower self-esteem. But in reality, it happens the other way around. If I say to myself that I can do it, I'm capable enough, my confidence level goes up. And once I enter into any activity with high confidence, my performance would ultimately go up. But as we see that this myth which I was talking about earlier, that performance leads to self-confidence, leads to self-esteem, we normally see it like that. And how does it go down? Like, how does it happen that even if I'm saying it's the other way around, I'm sure most of you may not believe it right now, still are in that space, that in reality what we see is that when performance goes down, the self-confidence goes down, and self-confidence goes down, self-esteem goes down. So starting from the point, okay, that each one of us was born with all the power, with our self-esteem being right there. When we were 2.5, 3-year-olds, and we were asked, "Ye kar sakta hai, can you do this?" Our answer to that person more often than not was yes. And if you really look at children again, as I was talking about at the start of the session, if you ask them, "Can you drive?" they'll say yes. If you say, "Can you swim?" they'll say yes. If you say, "Khana bana sakta hai," they'll say yes. They want to eat on their own. They want to do everything on their own. That they believe that everything is possible and they can do anything. So what happens in reality? whenever we start something new, something we haven't done before, and we are not able to do it. So, for example, if we see our own performance or somebody else's performance or a student's performance go down, two things happen. There is something which people around us say, and then there is something we say to ourselves. What do people around us can say? So people around us can say, you can't, leave it. And people around us can also say, you can. And I can say to myself, I can. So I have two options. I can, I can't. People around us have two options. You can't, you can. So let's first see what happens if people around us say, you can't. And you say to yourself, I can't. And my request would be, as we are going through this, if you can pick up a real life incident for yourself, something you tried, something you picked up, and you couldn't do it, you failed at it. And people around you, could be your parents, could be your teachers, could be those significant adults around you in your life, said you can't. Could be a subject, could be an activity, could be a sport, could be speaking out in public, could be doing those extempores or debates. And they said to you, you can't. And once you heard them, because they were significant people in your life, could be your father, mother, teachers, you also said to yourself, when they are saying I can't, then I can't. Which would have led to you saying to yourself that I can't in that particular area of your life, and your self-esteem in that area of your life got dented. Anybody would like to share that with me? If you can recall something like that. That's something you tried and people around you said you can't, and then you gave up on that, saying that I can't.
Yeah, so it happened with me, Sushant. I could never read aloud well, and I would struggle with my pronunciation.
Okay.
And so that became a big can't. And even as
that was what age?
I think all through middle school and senior school, when you're more conscious about yourself, right?
Okay.
So I think read aloud became such a no for me, and I think it was much later as an adult where I started to challenge it and then could do it finally.
Okay. Anybody else? Greater anything? Anybody else who could see that? And Anchal, right? That was Anchal, right?
Meghna?
Sorry, Meghna. So Meghna, if you really notice what you just shared, okay, and I want everybody to notice that, was it that you couldn't do it? If that capability or capacity wasn't there with you, you wouldn't have been able to do it at all, right?
You're right, yes.
So after a while, when you broke it for yourself, you could see that I could do it.
That's right.
This was not something which wasn't possible at all. It wasn't something which was completely missing. And भैया इसमें मेघना में ना कोई जीन्स की कमी है या कोई वायरिंग की डिफेक्ट है जिसकी वजह से वो रीड अलाउड नहीं कर सकती. So it was already there. So this capability was already there.
I guess.
Yeah. And because people around you who were significant, who mattered, said that to you, you started believing that I can't.
True.
Yeah. Similarly, people have shared that driving. Yes, Purti, what you've shared is riding a bicycle. It's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah, yes. So I cannot ride a bicycle probably till date, unless like you probably provoked me to think about it. But I still hesitate riding a bicycle. I probably had a fall or something in middle school, And I was told, why do you do it if you get hurt? And so I don't even do it in the gym. Strange that now I come to think of it, I realize that, because I was told I can't, I still don't do it.
Exactly. So people around us matter, and while you were sharing this brings a very critical thing. I was teaching my child, my son, to ride a bicycle, and I used to work in a corporate, and time was very, very short. So I used to ask him to ride it while I used to drop him to the bus stop, and I used to just pull the bicycle back after dropping it at the bus stop. And one of the days he fell, and I shouted at him, "Here, what have you done? Tere bus ka nahi hai. You won't be able to do it. You spoiled your entire dress, and now the bus is you will miss the bus. So just chuck the cycle and come with me." After this incident, that kid didn't pick up the bicycle for 2 years. Until in one of these sessions, I suddenly realized that's what I had done, and went back to him, apologized for that incident after 2 years of it. So I kept buying in new bikes, but it didn't work. And it didn't work for 2 long years. So yes. So that's one side, okay. What can happen the other way around is this. The other thing is people around us saying you can, and you saying to yourself I can. What happens in that case is your self-esteem doesn't get dented at that level. It actually increases, and you start believing in yourself that I can. Now, as I'm saying that, see where all, and I'm sure there will be areas in your life where somebody else in your life, even after you failing at something or not scoring well or whatever it was, which you call that there was a performance dip or you didn't do well, the person around you, again, your parents, your teachers, said you can. And look at two angles for yourself. Okay, one where you were still saying I can't, but the person around you said you can, and I'm with you. If you can think of some incident where you were still saying I can't, but the person around us said you can, and I believe in you. Anybody with that kind of an example? So, okay, you on a roller coaster ride, and your parents said anyone can take it. Yeah. And by the way, one thing you all have gone through, when we were trying to learn to walk, we all fell. A lot of us would have hurt ourselves badly. A few of you could have fallen on your bums, could have you fallen on your face. That really hurt. And I'm sure most of us at that point of time, because I remember my child, you were saying, yeah, it feels difficult to get up again. But because our parents at that point of time are either celebrating or clapping, that we actually get up, even after saying that I can't, but we really do that. Our entire writing experience, how do we learn writing? I think it took 3, 4, 5 years before any one of us actually could write. It's only our teachers and parents who were clear that we are going to write. We would have given it up so easily so many times. It used to hurt our hand. We never used to get our pencil right. Then the spellings were another game. But our parents at that point of time said, you will write, because writing is normal. Everybody writes, so you will also write. And their support made us do exactly what we thought we can't do. Anybody has any kind of a experience? So traveling alone. Okay. So if you really see, let me just go back again. Is there anybody sharing, or do I move ahead? Nanak, you've unmuted yourself. You're saying something? No. Okay. So let me just take you through this again. What really happens is when our performance goes down, and if you really see, if we do something for the very first time, working out in the gym, yeah. Right. So coming to this, when performance goes down, and more often than not, when you're doing something new, it could be riding a bicycle, to learning how to drive a car, to painting, to anything, to cooking. More often than not, our performance will be dipping. And there are two things which happen around in our environment. One, people around us saying you can or you can't. And we saying to ourselves we can and we can't. Now, if people around us say you can't, we again have two options. We can say I can't and I can. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of examples in your life where people around in your life would have said you can't. But you kept saying to yourself, I can. And you actually did it. So what ultimately matters is what you say to yourself about yourself. It definitely gets supported by people around us, specifically in an age when we are children, specifically in an age when we so believe our teachers and parents. They have a huge impact on what we say to ourselves about ourselves. And why I'm having this talk again with you guys is that the kind of access you have with the children and the level of children you have in terms of their socio-economic status, you have a huge capacity to make an unbelievable magical difference in their life. Like if you guys can tell them that they can, just purely because you say that they can, it will be a huge boost, a huge environment for them to start saying to themselves that they can. And if that happens, their self-esteem will never get dented. Yes, it is a superpower. We teachers and parents have this gift of God that what you say, children start believing in. I'll give you a very small, it could be a very stupid example. Each one of you has a name, right? And you respond to that name all the time. Why do you have that name? Why you called Kriti, or why you called Vidyut, or Suhani, or Sushant, or Kruti, or Meghna, or whoever, or Ekta, or Suhani? Because your parents said, this is who you are. And from that day onwards, that is who you became. Now, as parents and teachers, that's the power each one of you has. And if you really look in your own life, and I'm sure each one of you, including me, had somebody or the other, maybe one person, who had that faith or still has that faith in ourselves, in you, that you can. And once that person says you can, you start believing that you can. And whatever you're struggling with starts to happen. I hope as I shared this and asked this question to you, I'm sure a few names would have popped up. A few people would have popped up in your head, in your life. Anybody would want to share that? Did you get it? Not get it? It'll be great if you want to say that. You can unmute yourself and say it out loud. Anybody? So Kirti, what about them? Like, would you want to quickly share an incident or share something which you can say that?
So, like during my 12th, 11th or 12th, during the geography exam. So, I was very like, my geography exam was just next day. And I was very pretty tensed up and crying, like I can't do the syllabus and I can't do that. So I just went to my parents' room. They hugged me, they consoled me, they lifted me. And the next day, the best part was the next day, because my father had to go to office early in the morning. So when I woke up, I got one a letter or a small chit written by my father. All the best, Kriti. You can do it. So that was
Wow.
something. It lifted my mood. It made me my morning, and I was very happy giving the exam. And even I scored well in that exam.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. So few people have shared, right? His son never liked by his teachers. He scored above 90. Your husband, wow. And Dishlin was sharing that one teacher believed that you can do physics and you were really successful by the end of the year in 11th grade. So if you really see the kind of impact self-esteem has on performance. So if you really see that again, what really matters is what we start to say about ourselves, to ourselves. And that is, for the children at least, and even for adults, is highly dependent on what our environment says to you. I'll give you a very quick example. My father, he's about 75 right now, retired 15 years back. And from the day he retired, he was giving his services gratis for various NGOs, specifically in the medical sector, and managing their medical centers. About 6-8 months back, one day I was sitting in the office and he came down and he said, "Sushant, I want to speak to you." And he was very serious about it. And I said, I'll be free by 5:30, I'll come. So dot at 5:30, I went up and he was sitting outside, like as if he's like waiting for 5:30 and waiting for me to come. And I went to him and he said, "Sushant, I'm thinking of opening a charitable clinic for myself. I'll do it. But your mom is not agreeing and people around me are saying, what's the 75? Why do you get into this? You be with yourself. It's enough." He didn't have a space. He didn't have the money to do it. He didn't have the doctors to do it. And he said, "Can I?" And only thing which I said, okay, being a son, I said to him, "Sure, why not?" Next day, I bought a book for him, Mother Teresa's biography, and I gave it to him. I said, "Read it." And he never reads books, and he read that book, I think, in 3 days. And 3 months hence, he would have gone through whatever shit he would have gone through in his life. A lot of people saying, "Kya bakwas hai, I will not give you space," and going and asking for donations from people. That clinic has been working for 6 months now and is doing pretty well. It's working now 6 days a week. Every day, 4 hours he's spending there. He's now got a general physician and optician there. So what I shared right now is, even at the age of 75, all he wanted somebody to say you can. And trust me, why I said it to him that he can was only one reason, that I said, okay, for the next 3 months or 4 months, whatever it will take for him to set it up, even if it doesn't set up, he will play full out. He would go play, enjoy it. And I said, fine, let's see what happens after 3-4 months of his effort. But let him go and play full out. And more often than not, when people play full out, things happen. So this just doesn't work even just for children, but people around who you start trusting and believing in, who are your environment. So if we start saying to people, you can, their self-esteem goes up. And once the self-esteem goes up, their performance, their confidence of doing it goes up. And once the confidence goes up, their level of performance automatically starts showing up. So coming back and joining with what we had done last month is that if I say to myself that I am a no-limit person, and that's how each one of you, each one of us was born. then you start everything that I can. And if you start getting into a thing with saying I can, your performance is bound to get impacted. So what I wanted to move from you today is that this whole concept of the centerpiece, which we say performance leads to self-confidence, leads to self-esteem, actually doesn't work. That's not the way life works. That's a myth. How it really works is you feeling great about yourself, saying to yourself that I can, which brings up your confidence levels. And once that confidence level and your belief goes up, your performance, your abilities automatically improve. So if I ask a question to you guys, if you see a child's performance going down, it could be any subject, it could be any extracurricular activity, it could be singing, it could be debating, you name it. It could be behavior, for example. If you see a dent in that area, in any kind of a performance or skill or ability of a child, what's the first thing you need to do? Any thoughts? What would you now do?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I was teaching in, actually, I'm teaching right now a bunch of group of students in a government school. I'm teaching a remedial class there.
Okay.
Actually, they are in class 8 and they do not know how to read Hindi. So in 4 or 5, one of the students is Leela. About a month ago, I started with them. All the teachers said that we have done everything. हम सब कर चुके हैं इनके साथ and ये पढ़ नहीं सकते, इसका कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Like that. And the principal also spoke in front of him itself, her itself, that she can't do anything. When the principal gone, I take her for 15 minutes and I spoke to her that you are the best student of my class and you can do everything. But just the thing is that do homework and focus everything. Do homework for tomorrow, then see the difference. I just give her some advices. Okay, so she got okay. I will do homework. She had never done homework before that. She came next day, done her homework. I said this, you have done. I've just clapped for him that she is doing now. Now the month is over, and the difference is that other 4 students with her were also not able to read, but they are now able to read almost okay, but they are making mistake. Leela is now reading very carefully and not making any mistake. So I felt that a difference can be created by a word of a person.
Exactly. And now that's the power you and each one of you on the call have. It's like, it's unbelievable. You just going there and saying to any child, and great that you shared, because if you're working with children in the remedial classes, that means all of them have been somewhere rejected by the system, saying tu nahi kar sakta.
Yes, definitely.
So my request is, if I don't know whether you attended the last session or not, do the labeling exercise with them. Like, really go remove all the labels they have put on themselves: slow, dull, stupid, idiots.
Yeah. I have not attended the last session actually.
Yeah, so I'm saying, just ask them to write what they have heard people say to them.
Okay.
And tell them to really tear them away, burn them, and say period. And say, because you say so, period. They don't need a proof of it. If they ask you, how do you think we can do it, just say, because मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
We?
Because मैं बोल रहा हूँ, I'm saying so.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm saying it to you, but I'm saying it to everybody right now. Why are we saying that you can? Is very simple. That's how you were born.
Yeah.
Like, every human was born with all that power. And what I'm saying is not rocket science right now. If you really look at any of the scriptures, okay, go to any of the scriptures. If you believe in spirituality or religion, any scripture, every scripture says human being is a part of God. And if that is true, what I'm saying is no rocket science. That's exactly how you're supposed to be.
Yes, definitely.
Great. So thanks, Nana, for interacting. The idea behind this is whenever the performance of a child or anybody goes down, our first instinct is to look at the performance and start addressing the performance by providing support. That more often than doesn't work. If you really look at remedial classes and really see their performance improving, you will hardly see any performance improvement just by doing more of what we did earlier. The minute the child starts believing in themselves that I can, you start to see a shift within a month. That's what you saw with that girl.
Yes.
So if a performance goes down, it's an indicator of you required to work on the self-esteem of a child and fill them up on their self-belief that yes, they can.
Actually, sir, just I'm working with a group of 14 or 15 students, and they are specially taken out of the 60 students in the class, and all have their esteem down itself. As I think
it must be very, 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 very bad.
Yeah.
So your job, man, I'm telling you, if you really want to make a difference for the next few days, forget about teaching them anything.
Okay.
Focus purely on building their self-esteem and saying you can. Like make it a jargon that I can. Actually, which I got children to do.
I'll work on it.
One simple exercise which we got children to do in a few sessions is that we got them to write I can't on a piece of paper. And then brought in a big ball where I collected all that stuff and we burnt it. And we said, now you cannot use this word forever in your life. So let's go play the game.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So coming back, ability of doing anything, anything. So is dependent on your capacity, which over the last session and today's session, we're talking about that each one of us is born no limit. So this capacity is unlimited. This capacity of a human being to do whatever they want to do is unlimited. So the game is all about exposure. Bringing it back again. Normally what happens is when we see a child doing badly at something, if you see more often than not, we also, we put a dent on their self-esteem that you can't. And the second thing, we start lowering their exposure. So for example, we start providing them help. Second, we may even take off those subjects. If a child is not doing well in, say, for example, running, we'll say, you stop running. Now, if I stop running and if I stop practicing running, how can I build my stamina in running? So there's a child who's good at running and there's a child who's slow at running. We take the guy who's slow at running away and say, tu mat bhag, tere vas ka nahi hai. So two things happen. One, his self-esteem is dented. His own self-belief that I bhag sakta hu, I can run well, is gone down. And second, we take him out of running. And if I take him out of running, how do you think that person will build the stamina or the pace to run? So in this case, if I ask you, if somebody is not able to run well, does he or she need more exposure to run or less? Anybody? Definitely more, right? No, it's like a very, very stupid question. But if you really see what we normally do, and somebody, I don't remember the name, but somebody shared that you don't bicycle. So when you fell from the bicycle a few times, people around you said, tu chhod de, stop doing it. Now, if you stop doing it, then you will never learn. So if you see anybody failing at something, performance going down or not able to do it right now, what's your job? To increase the exposure or to reduce the exposure? Increase it, right? So sure, there could be competitions. Okay, there could be competitions that you can't send those child for those competitions outside your school because it matters. Sure, do that. I'm not saying send the worst guy, but can we keep building those people also to have even more exposure so that they can build those muscles for themselves? So if you remember this small thing which is just on screen right now, your current ability to do anything is purely a factor of your capacity, which is unlimited. And if people around you can keep saying that you have unlimited capacity and you are capable of everything and anything, you are no limit, then that stays intact. And if you keep providing more exposure, let the child do exactly what he's not able to do right now, and let them get more and more and more and more exposure, things is going to shift. So a child may take 10 rides to learn how to bicycle, another child can take 500. And if we don't provide those 500 opportunities for that child will never learn how to bicycle. But is there somebody in the world who cannot learn how to bicycle? I don't believe so. I haven't seen anyone. I'm sure whoever it was, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. If you start, that's Spurti, right? Spurti, if you start to learn bicycling right now, which I really would want you to start after this call, I'm sure you'll do it. And thanks for taking it on, Shruti. Spurti. Which city are you in?
Hey Sushant, I'm from Pune.
Okay, great. So next time when I'm in Pune, I'll definitely contact you and see
Awesome, for sure.
So let me know the day you start bicycling via mail.
I will.
Maybe
will.
sharing it this entire group.
Yeah, I will.
So coming back and just briefing it again, what happens is labeling impacts the self-esteem of a person, which impacts the self-confidence, which ultimately leads to impacting the performance. So what you have in your hands, I think I shared this slide again, I'll go through it again, very critical, is your power to remove labels. What I said last time also is that our brain is trained to make judgments. Our brain is made to make judgments. That's the role of a brain. We have to make those judgments. And every minute you will make judgments about people around you, make judgments about spaces around you, make judgments about the situations around you. So you see somebody, the labels are very automatic. You will not be able to say that I will stop labeling from today. That will not happen. So don't even try doing that. If you can achieve that in a few years, that will be great. But notice that labels for anybody and everybody will come out like this. They will come automatically. But remember, the power you have is to remove them. So the first step to do is identify the labels. And as I said last time, that if you can do this exercise for yourself at a start every week and then maybe increase the gap, identify your own labels, identify the labels of the children you're working with. Then remove those labels. Identify that who the person is, this is the person, and these are the labels. Right now, we see the person and the labels as one. They're intertwined. They're one. This whole exercise is for you to distinguish the person from his labels. Like you can see the person and his clothes. And the minute you take away soiled clothes and you put in a suit, you look better. You take off a suit and you put in a cricket jersey, you will become a cricketer. So whatever label you will put, the person will start doing like that. And this power is with you. So start identifying those labels, start and distinguishing the person from the labels. And the best would be once you remove those labels, label each one of yourselves and each one of those child as no limit. that they can do it and they have the power to do anything. And the next part would be start practicing to label the act. So I can be lazy at times, but that is what I'm being lazy. I am not lazy. I can be stupid at times. I am not stupid. I'm behaving stupid. I can be very caring. I can care for people. So I am not caring, but I am behaving caring. And there are times when I'll be careless. There'll be times when I'll be lazy. There'll be times I can be short-tempered. I am not short-tempered. I'm being short-tempered at those times. If you practice labeling the act, this whole thing becomes easier. Because that's exactly what is happening. We are labeling the person based on the act. And if we can keep distinguishing that, it'll be a great thing for us, a great thing for our relationship with that person, and something phenomenal for that person himself. And I'll add to this, keep the exposure on. Everybody has a different learning curve. Everybody learns at their own pace. Everybody acquires different skills at their own pace. So people had shared that they couldn't speak up loud in school, but right now they can. So it took you time to learn that skill. And the more exposure you got is what brought it up. So keep the exposure on. Remember, there are 40, 50 children in your classrooms. Everybody will pick up the same stuff at a very different level. One way could be you can blame the education system that we all teach all the children same thing together, which really doesn't work, but that's how it is. But if we give them enough exposure and if we keep telling them they can, they definitely will. So I don't know whether this video will play. Let me just check. Will this if I play a video, will people get
you can try it, Sushant. We've tried earlier. Sometimes it's not worked. Maybe it's on a YouTube or something. You can also share the link in the chat window.
I can maybe, but I normally play it. I have this downloaded here.
Sure, we can definitely try.
Let me just try this out. If it works.
Let's not say no. Yeah.
Sure. There's a very, it's very fast one which I'm just sharing with you. This is Sudha Chandran. I'm sure you would have heard of her name. Sudha Chandran. It's a very quick video about how give me a second. Let me just try and share it again. I'm sure you can see it.
Yes, it's visible.
Let's hope it works. So let me give you a background of this. If people don't know her, she was about 13, 14, and she was going with a family to from I think Mahabaleshwar to Pune, somewhere there in that area, and they met with an accident. She had a broken limb, and she was plastered. And after a while, after some time, when they removed the plaster, they saw that gangrene had set in, and they had to amputate her. So this is a story when she's in the hospital. It's a very 46-second thing. Let's see her.
Can't hear actually. Do you have headphones plugged in, Sushant?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you'll have to remove it for.
Will that? I think 1 second. Just give me a second, because I think when I do this, I can have this. You couldn't hear me? Let me just try that out, because I have.
Yeah, normally if you have headphones plugged in, you can't really hear the video. Let's try without the headphones.
Okay. So let me do that again then.
Yeah, now it's audible, but it's not loud enough. I can't hear very well actually, but let me check with the others. Can you please type in the chat window if you can hear the video?
Sure. It's not audible?
I think the sound is a little feeble.
Okay, there was a way this video can be shared with the audio.
Right. So Spurti just mentioned if you can increase the sound of the system itself, like on your laptop, if you can.
Oh, yeah, this is, I think, the maximum. Let me try it again.
Sure.
No, it's at 50. Wait. This can work. But there was a way we could share the audio of the system also. So let's try this out.
Sure. No, it's not very clear.
It's not?
No. Does it have subtitles by any chance?
Not sure. Okay, so what I'll do is this is there on our YouTube channel.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let's watch it.
But what I can quickly share, what she's saying,
sure.
is that she was on the bed and she spoke to a person called Dr. B.K. Sethi. And at that point of time, B.K. Sethi was the best surgeon in the country. And she said, I wrote to him and he wrote back and he came to meet her. So she said the minute he came to see her, she was supposed to ask, she thought I'll ask him, doctor, whether I'll be able to walk. But she says no. She said, I don't know why, but I asked her, doctor, will I be able to dance? And this doctor said, yes, you will. And after that, she got amputated, got that Jaipur foot. She said, I went on to practice, and after 2 years, there was this whole function, a stage show, where she invited the doctor again. And the doctor saw the entire performance and then said, how could you do it? He came back backstage and asked her that, great dance, but how did you do it? She said, doc, you told me 2 years back that I can. He said, when you first asked me, I couldn't say no after seeing your innocent face. So a doctor walks in and says you can, and then this person starts believing that she can, and she actually does it. So that's the power you have on your children. The doctor didn't even reply, didn't even know that how could she do it. And she said, I did it because you said so. Because she trusted him and she said, you're the best doctor. If you can say so, it'll happen. And she made it happen. So just wanted to end this at this video. Thanks Prerna for putting it there. So let's label them no limit, and that's the entire game. They're no limit, they can do it, and the performance is going to go up. And I wanted to replace this one. Your happiness is your dad saying, I know you can do it. And happiness is your teacher saying, I know you can do it. So just wanted to open this up for you, for any questions, any thoughts we want to have.
Sure, Sushant. We have a list of questions. I've made a note of those. So I'm just sending you on the WhatsApp group that we created.
But Rahul has just sent them. No? These are ones. So who actually we are if we perform?
Okay, sure. Same ones, yeah.
Okay, great. So let's start. Nanak, you said, so who actually we are if we perform as we put a label on us? Nanak, can you, I'm sorry, it was, I couldn't decipher this one. Ekta, can you?
Sorry?
The first question which Nanak is asked, I couldn't decipher that one. It's like, I couldn't make what does he want to ask? So who actually we are if we perform as we put a label on us?
So I think we can just ask Nana if we can clarify the question.
Nana, can you please say it out?
Yeah. It's sometimes actually when we are typing, it's a little, words get a little. Nanak, are you here?
Yeah, I am here.
Yeah, please.
I was actually asking. I can ask in Hindi right now, so it would be more understandable for.
Okay, sure. I'll translate it. Not a problem.
हाँ, okay. बस ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ सर मैं कि एक्चुअली हम हैं कौन? इफ हम हैं कौन अगर हम लेबल्स के साथ चलें कि हम बोले कि यार आप या कुछ भी कर सकते तो आप एक्चुअली है कौन? आपने थोड़ी देर पहले जस्ट डिस्कस किया कि आप जो लेबल डालेंगे आप वैसे हो जाएंगे. आप आप अच्छा खुश हैं तो आप खुश नहीं, एक्चुअली आप खुश होने का एक लेबल डाल रहे हैं. तो हम हैं कौन फिर? So reality क्या है?
Reality क्या है? That's a very good question. Maybe ढूंढनी पड़ेगी, but okay. So in our belief system and what we've worked with for the last 10 years with children and parents and teachers, who you are is somebody who's no limit, somebody who's capable of anything and everything. And yes, who can have all the traits, can have all the skills, can develop all the skills. So if you really make a list of what all can you do, and also make a list of what do you think you can learn, I'm sure there is nothing which will not be there, what you can't learn. So who you are is what you say you are. If you say you're no limit and you want to pick up something and do something, I can bet you will be able to do it. So अगर आपने अपने ऊपर एक लेबल लगा लिया कि मैं X कर सकता हूँ, तो फिर आप वो बन गए. अगर आपने बोला Y कर सकते हो, फिर आप वो बन गए. To take an analogy, it's like water. You put blue color in it, you become blue, and you put red in it, and you become red. Who you actually are is unlimited potential.
Okay.
So Ankit is saying that as a teacher, we should not judge our students on the basis of their academic performance. As a fish should not be judged by its ability to climb a tree, but even our education system recognizes top performers, and even we as a person grown up with the same education system, how we should adjust our lens of looking on each child as per changing needs of modern world, and especially when we talk about label students. Ankit, very simply, if you really see and observe children around, not children, but people who are out there after becoming students of coming out from the same system, same education system. If you differentiate between who's done well, and I'm saying the definition of well is your own definition, the difference in a person. So if you look around in your own classes, when you were students, in your own peer groups, you will find that people who had better marks than you, performed better than you, at this point of time in their life, a few of them would be doing better than you, and I'm sure there will be a few who are not doing as good as you are. And if you look at your colleagues and peers who got less marks than you, whose performance was lesser than yours, even those will be there who are better than you in life right now, and they will be on the other side also. So what I wanted to say here is that your academic performance, your marks, have no relationship with how well your life goes or how well you do in your life. You will find all kind of people with great marks, less marks, doing well, doing worse. But you will find one thing: people with high self-esteem. If you really go and see people who have done well in their life and compare with people who have not done well in life, you will see this difference, that the people who have done well in life have much higher self-esteem. People who have belief in themselves have really done well. And that definition of well, I will leave it to you. It could be spiritually, it could be financially, it could be academically, anywhere. So yes, our system judges them, sure. if we start doing a judgment on something else, there has to be a judgment. There has to be some way of measuring. I'm not even saying that whatever measuring system we have today is the best. It's not. It should be changed yesterday, sure. But even in this education system, if we as educators start focusing on things which really matter, the things which really make a difference, we can do that. So the lens is how much a child trusts in himself, believes in himself that he can. If we start focusing on that, you will always see that the performance of that person is also go up. Ouch, can I have people muted? There's a lot of noise coming in.
Yeah, Ankit, it would help if you can mute yourself, please. Thank you.
Yeah. And Ekta, you would say that wouldn't that depend on what the child wants to do? Perfectly. Exactly. It completely depends on what he wants to do. And I would say, look at your own experience or experience of people anywhere. All of you who are on the call can look at your own experience and see whatever you wanted to do in your life, you made it happen, irrespective of what people around you said. So what you really want is what you want to do for yourself, what you want in your life becomes paramount. You set your goal and you believe that you can, and you have an environment which tells you you can. You'll do it. It's going to happen. So I'm helping a rural.
Yeah, Sushant, thank you for clarification. My question, I just wanted to ask, since as a person we all have gone through that system of education, we have grown up in this system also. So usually we believe that all our students have that potential.
Yeah.
But let's say when there is a limited opportunity, means that we have to give to our students. When even school nominate those students who are whom they believe. So even as a teacher, if we want to send some other kids in some competition, but still that school administration, they told that they give their list. So again, we have to face that dilemma of judgment, which people usually do.
Sure, Ankit. For those competition, you will definitely send the best. Obviously, if you're looking at an Olympics, I'm looking at. If you're looking at a school, I look at anything. It could be Asian Games, it could be Olympics, it could be our cricket team, it could be anything. You would want to feel the best person there, and obviously the best person should go there. What I was referring to is that the person who's willing and who wants to make it happen, make sure that that child is also getting enough exposure. So that exposure doesn't mean sending that person for a competition. That person could be given exposure within the school itself for him or her to improve on that ability. More often than not, what happens is because of our words, because the way we deal with them, the child becomes discouraged. We even at times take away that activity from him. Here to you leave this, do something else. So what I said earlier was, you definitely send the best people for your competition, no questions asked. But keep the exposure on for those children also who really want to do it, because even they have the capacity. So maybe that child, after having gotten the exposure and the practice, can be the one who represents the school next time.
Okay, thank you, Sushant.
Yeah, I'll quickly see how many questions are there. So there's
Manjusha has a question, which says that which strategies are helpful for us to remove labels and work confidently?
Which strategy? It's very simple, Manjusha. List all the labels out. More often than not, for a lot of people, it would appear that they are not labels at all. There would be a lot of labels which we have on ourselves, which we don't even see as labels, because it's like become second skin. But you can trust me on this one. Even that's removable. Even that's a label. You can remove that too. So whatever word, whatever trait we use to describe a person is ultimately a label. Some could be very easy to peel off. Some will take a lot of time to peel off. But the exercise is very simple. List them down and start identifying that this is you, this is the person, this is the child, and these are labels, and start removing them. It would take time, but it's like if you keep peeling off a post-it, keep putting it back, peeling off a post-it, keep putting back, it after a while it loses its stickiness. This is exactly what happens to these labels. There's no strategy there. It's very simple. Identify them and throw them out, and do that as regularly as possible, and start saying to yourself that I'm no limit, and start saying to that child that you are no limit. There was somebody who had asked a question about Rajasthan, that some teacher is not willing. It's all gone up.
Rajasthan. Well, there's a question from Priyanka at the moment. I'll look for the one that you're talking about.
Sure.
It says, if one's self-esteem is high, let's say from saying itself, then can a fish climb a tree according to that logic?
If you go, it's an amazing question, by the way. So you're trying to trick me into it, but not a problem. If you really go to the history of human beings and evolution of human beings, one of the theories says that all living organisms were underwater earlier. The first fish which came out and tried to walk, and then tried to walk again, and that tried to walk again, then the life on earth which was outside of water started. It's not my cooked up story. This is exactly one of the evolution theories. Check it out. So from that perspective, the fish can also walk. And if the fish can walk, then it can also climb a tree. I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but my request is please search this out and look for this theory, because that's how all human beings and all living organisms who live out of water came into being.
So there's a question from the teacher which says that I'm helping a rural school in Rajasthan. I'm struggling to motivate the lady teachers there. They don't respond much. What can I do?
Simple again. Simple but not easy. Okay. So when I said simple, it's not easy. This is going to take a lot of time, because if you really look at it, our self-esteem is not just built over years. If you're working with women, and specifically when you're talking about Rajasthan, what it brings into my head is that Rajasthan has had a history of how women are treated in their society. So what these women are carrying is not just labels of their particular life, the years they have lived. They're carrying labels of a few hundred years maybe. How their community is looked at, how they are treated, how they think they can do it. So it's not just, these labels are not going to be easy. So again, my request would be, rather than anything else, like working on anything else, training them, coaching them, convincing them, counseling them, work on purely building the two word which is said, I can. We can start with smaller stuff. Whatever they think they can't right now, could be any small stuff. Okay, pick that up. Pick up some stuff which they currently think they can't, and get them to do it. I'm not sure how much space is there to get them to do something physical, but getting them to do something which they currently believe they can't, which could be outside of teaching, which could be outside of their current role. If you start putting in a few elements of things which they currently say they can't, and then you make them do it, and they see to themselves that they can do it, you can prove it that they, if required, will be able to do everything and anything in their life. So build in small exercises. You'll have to think of it. Maybe we can talk offline and see what small things you can do to start proving to them that they can. Don't use this exercise to build their self-esteem. That you could do it. Now you can do this also. Use this exercise to prove it to them that they are capable of everything. And they start using I can in their day-to-day life for themselves. Once that starts to shift, you will see a huge difference in whatever they're doing in life. Building that whole belief that I can will work wonders for them. And not just in the school, if you ask me, that will make a huge difference in their society. That will make a huge difference in their in their life. So try it out, and if need be, feel free to exchange mails and be in touch.
Sure. So we don't have time for any more questions, but I've shared Sushant's email ID in the chat window. I
Sure.
mean, feel free to just chat offline, talk with him in detail about some of the questions you have. But Sushant, thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks, yeah.
I think it's been nice to I think it's also interesting that we've been able to share so many things that we usually won't and reflect on some of these things. So I think that makes the session really interesting. I hope others also found the same. And of course, the entire session is recorded, so we'll share it with all of you. And if you want to watch it again or try some of these things that we did today with your own teachers or educators, but important thing is do tell us how it went. Because only then we'll understand that what has been the impact of this conversation today. So
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
And do share it either on these videos, or if you want to write a mail, if there's anything which is bothering you, feel free. Just a small request. As I shared earlier, we've done this work across the world in any and every community, even with tribal people. This works. So my small request is whoever is there on the call listening to this, or maybe seeing these videos later, my small request is try this one out, take it away, and really give it to children who you touch. This really produces results. And thanks, Saita, for this. So it's been great to talk to people all around, and let's see. I'm waiting to hear from you all. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a pleasant evening.